All right, so welcome to the second episode of the show. I have my good friend Michael Close, who is currently in the Air Force. He's going to kind of talk about what life's like in the Air Force, the day to day challenges, kind of just talk about life itself, like we have done in previous episodes. So, yeah, I'll let Michael introduce himself a little bit.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be on the show with my good buddy Manoz, as we like to call him. But yeah, in the Air Force for about 4 years now, Intel Analyst, PowerPoint Ranger, very proficient in Microsoft Office. So happy to be here. So on this beautiful Memorial Day, by the way.
Yeah, Michael's been kind enough to take time out of his busy schedule to come and shoot the episode with us on Memorial Day.
Yes, freedom isn't free, as they say.
Yep. All right. So basically, if you want to just tell us what you do, where you are currently, where you're based out of, just kind of give us a little background.
Cool. Yeah. So presently, I'm in North Carolina on a temporary duty assignment. But when I'm not here, I have the wonderful privilege of being in beautiful Ramstein, Germany. Prior to that, I was in Clovis, New Mexico, which was an interesting experience, to say the least, job wise, fantastic. Location wise, I do not recommend it. Sorry if you're from Clovis, but not my favorite place in the world. Presently, right now, just supporting the Joint Special Operations Command, doing some fun, spooky stuff. It's a great time so far. Get to be here for the next few months or so. So nice change of pace from Germany and then back over there to hopefully do some more entertaining stuff. So it's hard to really go into specifics about what I do, just due to the nature of the actual operations. So, but if I was going to say, I would say I essentially just take data and I tell it to the people that need to know what to do.
So you're kind of like a data analyst, you would say.
Yeah, it varies based off of the mission. So my first job was a AC-130 gunship analyst. So I would work with the air crew for the AC-130 gunship. Very popular, especially if you've played Call of Duty in the last 10 years. Basically got the opportunity to work with those guys. So that was super cool. Very different mission than what I would do in Germany. So the gunships, I would essentially say, hey, there's a threat over here. This is what the threat might look like. This might be some warnings and indications you might be looking for. This is how far the threat can shoot. This is how the threat is typically positioned. Just things like that, or maybe like a flight path, or just general situational awareness for the areas that they would get deployed to. So that was a great time. A lot of really cool people. And then now, German's a lot different. So now it's basically a larger scale. So as opposed to working with one individual air crew and being very intimate with just those 12 people and then traveling with that group the whole time, this is now just more of a theater base. So focusing on the conflict in Ukraine at the moment, which sounds really cool. I personally think it's a little more boring than what I was doing before, because you go from SOCOM, which is Special Operations Command, to ACC, which is just a larger, more strategic command. So it's less of the cool little special op missions and more of just the broad warfare kind of thing. So right now I kind of just look at a computer screen and I update an Excel sheet if something moves to a certain location. So not nearly as fun, but still get to live in Germany, so can't complain too badly. And then presently right now we're just doing a bunch of random little things over here. So can't really get too into it.
So was your relationship with the gunship more personal in your first assignment, or like did you know like the guys on the squad a little more personally?
Yeah, I was very lucky. So typically, how the Air Force hierarchy or military hierarchy in general is set up, usually enlisted like myself would not interact with officers on a day-to-day basis as frequently, just because of the differences in responsibilities and the roles that they would play. But being close to an air crew, especially the gunship, there's enlisted gunners who load and maintain the weapons systems on the aircraft, and then there's also the pilots who would be officers and the weapons control officers. So it forces the enlisted and the officer to collaborate a lot more and interact more, so it becomes a much more familiar and comfortable environment, as opposed to kind of an awkward hierarchy where it's like your lieutenant or your captain, is it okay if I speak to you because I am technically your subordinate, right? It makes a lot more personable of an environment, as opposed to if you're a larger command, you might not even see your captain or even talk to a captain or a major. So it makes it a lot easier to interact with those that are in a higher position of authority.
Interesting. So you develop more of like a personal connection with your colleagues, sort of.
Yeah, so it's less this guy's my boss and more like, yeah, I work under this guy, but he's super cool. We can go out and have a drink or something, as opposed
Hmm.
to like, oh, that's my boss. Don't do anything weird in front of him. It's like, okay, I see this guy every day. I've literally been playing with you for 10 hours. All right, we're good enough. You can. It's not weird to call you by your regular name. I don't have to call you sir. I can just
Hmm.
say, hey, what's up, so and so. Right, as opposed to when you're in a regular command, it's like, oh, yes, sir, of course, or call them by their official title. So it's a lot more relaxed. But that also helps with the mission because you're doing a lot more intense work. So if you have to compromise between having the intensity that you're going to be doing, you might be up for like 24 hours, and then maintaining that sort of just formality because it doesn't matter as much as long as everyone's good at their job. But I'm not saying that decorum isn't important. There's different priorities depending on the actual jobs that are taking place.
Interesting. But I don't think you've actually told me specifically what you do on a day to day in our casual conversation. Oh,
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear what you actually do. But, so yeah, how long have you been in the Air Force so far?
So after, I believe 2021 is when I joined, so right after COVID. So good time to go in there.
So previously, before that, what were you kind of doing?
I was COVID, the dark time. So right when COVID hit, I was supposed to get a job for, I believe it was Mark Anthony Brands working for White Claw, where you essentially would, I think you would just go around and try to sell their products to stores. I don't really know. It was a sales related job, and I fucking hate sales. So it was that. But then COVID happened, and I was like, well, there's the restrictions on where you're allowed to go. So naturally, the job that requires you to go and talk to people and go in public is going to be taken away because due to restrictions. So I got lucky. So I got the unemployment check, which was a gift and a curse because for 6 months I just got paid to exist, which was very cool. But then the sense of no routine kind of makes you go a little crazy because it's like, okay, I could, go to bed at a normal time, wake up at a consistent time. But then after a while, you kind of go like, why? So it was very hard after a few months to find a reason to maintain a consistent schedule. After about 6 months of just doing that, I decided to try and get a job just so I could have some sort of routine in my life. And that led me to Amazon, and granted, all the people I worked for were great, but it was a work from home position. So essentially, I would just have a laptop. And it wasn't sales, but it was close enough to say where I didn't like it. It was basically the salesperson would set up a scheduled time for a technician to come to an apartment complex or a residential area to set up an Amazon Dropbox. So that Amazon could come in there and drop it off. So my job was just to coordinate that scheduling time with whoever the leasing manager was. And sometimes they would just forget or not remember, and then you just get screamed at. And then it would keep a quota of how many people that you confirmed the date to arrive where the technician would be, which was terrible. I hate quotas. I
So
hate
you're
them.
just scheduling appointments essentially.
Essentially scheduling appointments, but there was a quota. So if you didn't schedule a certain number of appointments, then you got in trouble or you didn't get paid as much. So
Interesting.
yeah, that was terrible. And then so I did that for 3 months. So the first month, right, it's your first month. They don't really care. So you can kind of just coast the first month. And then the second month, I was like, I don't really like this very much. So the second month, I kind of tanked a little bit. And then the third month, I was like, I can't do this job forever. Like, I would go crazy. Like, we had a few people on our team, and one of them was like an older, he was a really cool guy, but he was like an older guy, like a kid and everything. He was looking after him. Like, we're like 10 years apart, but we're in the same position. And he's been here for at least a year or a little bit longer than me. And he hasn't advanced at all. He's really good. Like, do I want to like stay in this job and not advance at all and be like this guy? Because if I did, I think I'd just be fucking depressed. So I was like, I cannot. There's no room for advancement. I cannot do this. So I was like, well, my parents were in the military. That was pretty chill. So might as well just do that. The government pretty much can't fire you unless you're a complete idiot. And that was my thought process. No quota, essentially, was the biggest selling point because if you don't hit your quota, you get fired, right? So you're just stressed out every month. Did not like that. So I was like, okay, Air Force was cool. Parents from the Air Force. Had a good time. Definitely have an upper hand here because I can navigate the job
A
options
little
a little
better.
better. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, cool. So my
I
third
mean,
month, I just told them I was going to join the Air Force. And I just slacked off the entire last month because I told them I was leaving, so they didn't really care. So I kind of just hung out that last month while I waited to go to the Air Force. So
so kind of going off what you said, so obviously I know this, but if you want to explain your background of your parents, so your parents actually lived in Germany in the and were in the Air Force as well. So living in Germany is kind of a familiar environment for you.
yeah, it was weird. So we were in Germany for about 8 years. So basically, born in Arizona and then left Arizona immediately. They were there for 10 years, and then I was born. They decided to move. So then we moved to South Dakota, which was, I don't remember much of it, very snowy, kind of cool. And we were there until I was about 4. And then after that, we went to Italy until I was about 7. And then they got divorced while we were in Italy. And then while we were with my stepdad, who was also a very cool guy, also in the Air Force. And then we went to Washington, D.C., and good old Maryland for a few years. And then 5th grade, we moved to Germany. And then we never left Germany, which worked out. It was pretty fucking cool. So, very interesting childhood growing up over there. A lot of differences culturally. So, that was a great time. So then going back after almost 10 years, as soon as I left Germany, went back to Arizona and then back to Germany after a few years in New Mexico. It was kind of weird seeing everything again. A lot of things had changed though, but the general, I knew where to go on base and everything. I remembered all the routes I used to run along. So that was pretty interesting.
You think you maybe adjusted a lot quicker than someone else who had never lived at that base before?
I don't think it had anything to do with living at the base. I think I adjusted a lot better than my colleagues, especially in basic training. One, because I was older, and two, because I'd already done a lot of that stuff, so I kind of knew what to expect. You have kids that are like 18 and they're like crying or they like don't know what to do or whatever. So which is fair, I guess. You know, they just went straight from high school there. I had a whole bunch of stuff I got to do way before I got there, so it was just easy when I got there because I'd already done so much stuff in my life prior to that, and I'd also been around that kind of environment.
Environment. No, that makes sense. So, what's the minimum age to join the Air Force? Is there a minimum age?
I think you can get a waiver if you're 17. Personally, I don't. I would just, if you can afford college, but you want to go to the military, just do ROTC at college, and then you can join the military and still get your 4 years of college. But then now you are an officer, so you get paid a lot more, and you can be a pilot and cool stuff like that. Like, unless it's so cool, there's still cool jobs you can get, but the officer position obviously pays more because you have that college degree. If you can also become an officer too. If you didn't do ROTC, it's just a lot harder. Or if you're enlisted, you can apply to become an officer, which is also a cool program, depending on if you did get your degree while you were in, because they do pay for you to get your degree. So even if you already have one, you can get your master's. Or if you don't have a bachelor's, they'll pay if you get your bachelor's. It's very generous. All you have to do is get accepted. There's a lot
So
of
it's
opportunities.
it's any college? It's like
Any
no.
college that accepts you, they will pay you up to like it's a generous. It was like I think it was like 25,000 or something. But like you have to get accepted. You don't just get like I want to go to Harvard. Okay, well, did Harvard accept you? Also, we're not paying for all of Harvard. Like you get the set amount, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
which is
I
still
mean
like
that makes sense though. They're
yeah,
not gonna pay
yeah,
100,000 tuition for
yeah,
one guy and pay like
yeah,
10 grand
absolutely.
for the other, right?
But if you want to go to ASU for free, you can go to ASU for free.
No, that's a good program though.
Yeah,
Definitely.
but you
I'm
have
sure
to
a lot of
actually
people take advantage of it though.
yeah, and they keep you accountable, so you have to actually like do your stuff, go to class, submit your transcripts and stuff like that. Otherwise, they're not gonna just give you money so you can commit fraud and not actually go to school. But yeah, everyone that signs up gets that. So if you don't go in as an officer, you can always become an officer. Or even if you don't want to become an officer, you just want to get that degree and then get out after your contract. I work with a guy, he's a data scientist, so he's a genius. He got his degree in data science while working here. And then now in a year, he's just going to get out and work as a civilian and make way more money as a data scientist.
And he's got no student loans or anything like that because he basically got free college.
Yeah, literally. So you can essentially, if you want, you could just get free college. You could do 4 years, get free college. Or you could just get accepted to like ASU offers a lot of grants, for example. Like go to choose a state college, like say you have in-state tuition, and then if you can get accepted into the ROTC program, do that, and then you just have a job after. Because an officer, even if you do ROTC and become an officer, you only have to, I believe, stay in for 6 years. So after 6 years, if you don't want to keep being in the military, you can just leave if you want.
So
But
it's 6 years, including the 4 years you did college, or excluding those
excluding,
years?
it's excluding.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
because they're not going to pay for you to go for 4 years, and then it's like, well, 2 years, see you fuckers. It's like, no, no,
you don't have to be in the Air Force at that point in time. You're just doing college full time when they're
well,
paying
you
for
would
it.
still, they still have like, from what I don't know all the stuff you do, but there still is like classes and courses you go to with the other ROTC people. So you're still doing regular college stuff, but like
Hmm.
at 5 a.m., right, you have PT. So I had some friends, like, and this was crazy because we'd go to the club, and I would go home and sleep, and they would go and get ready to go work out in the morning. Um,
Wow.
so
Yeah, it does not sound fun.
no, but yeah,
Hey,
so
but I mean, it's kind of planning ahead, I guess, thinking about your career and planning ahead. So if you were to take a different path as of right now, because obviously I know you went to college, you had a couple jobs, and then you realized you didn't like the jobs, and then you decided to join the Air Force. But if you were to change the way you kind of did things now, looking back at it, how would you join the Air Force? Just join our ROTC and then
yeah,
join the Air Force?
I would have just done ASU, ROTC, because I still could have done all the stuff that I did while I was there. So
Mm-hmm.
the only difference is I would have been in the ROTC program and then done all those other side things required of you. So, because I have friends that did that and they're having a great time right now. And also, like I said, I end up in probably not the same spot, but it's like slightly better position. But I mean, I'm still happy with how it ended up because I was very fortunate with my current job anyway. So it's not terrible. But yeah, I would definitely, if I could redo that, I would just do it in college. See, because it gives you some perspective, right? Because once you're out of college, you don't really understand how like the job market works super well. I don't think anybody does. So this would be a good way to have a job that pays you well, and it also gives you all the benefits you need. And then while you're in that with that safety net, you can figure out, do I like this? How do other people's jobs work? How's all this stuff? You can see that from like a safe distance, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no risk associated. So it helps you learn more about how the job
So
market
could
is in
you
the rest of the world.
could you do ROTC and then not join like military or Air Force or something like that?
I think so, but I think also you get in trouble and then they take you out. Because I had a friend that got kicked out.
Okay. So if you
So
do ROTC, you have to eventually join like some form of government service.
yeah, so you choose Air Force, Army, Marines.
Like before you start?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's not just
Interesting.
like a club you sign up for. It's like you have to get like a letter and everything. I'm not really sure what the process, but I know it's like an actual setup.
It's like you're signing a contract and
Yeah,
everything like that.
it's not like you just go to like Rush and they're like, "Oh, what's up, guys? I think it'd be super sick to." No, it's not like a. Let me sign up for the booster club. No.
So I think moving on to our next question though. So you did say your parents were in the Air Force and you grew up in Germany. Did that kind of persuade you to join the Air Force, or did you ever think like when you were a kid, like, oh man, I'm gonna join the Air Force? Or
So when I was a really little kid, I would never do this now. I mean, but when I was a little kid, I saw the movie SWAT, and I was like,
yeah, I've seen that.
I would be a SWAT guy. That's so fucking cool. Those guys are badass. And then after a while, I was like, maybe not. And then I was like, I don't really want to do the military. Like, my parents are in the military. I want to do something else because, when you're younger, you're kind of like, I'll just do whatever. I'll do this instead. So I was like,
Hmm.
I had it as a backup. Because I was like, I can try to do whatever random bullshit I want because I know if it doesn't work out, I'll just do the military and I'm good. Right. So I was pursue what you want and then just know you have that safety net. And if it's not going great, just join the military and figure your shit out. So that was my thought process. And that was, like I said, the only reason I joined is because when COVID hit, I was like, I am not in a position I would like to be in. So I was like, well, the military is pretty much it's very structured. I do well with structure, right? So when there's structure, there's rules in place. So if you understand the rules of something, it's easier to use it to your advantage, right? So like it's like if you're really good at a certain game, right? You know the rules of a game. So the better you are at knowing those rules, the better you are at that game, if that makes sense, right? So same thing with the Air Force. You understand how it works, how promotions work, how jobs work, how getting paid works. It's like, okay, cool. I can wrap my head around that so I can elevate myself from the current position I'm in, as opposed to the job I was in. I don't understand how the fuck promotion works here. I don't understand how like benefits work here. None of it makes sense. Air Force is like a set system in place, which some people don't like, They don't like the rigidity of the military, but I like it because some people might say, well, you're confined to this, but it also means other people around you have to follow the same rules. So if you're smart enough, you can go like, okay, well, I can use that to my advantage, right? So for example, this assignment that I'm on, no one else in my entire squadron, which is a lot of people, is allowed to come to this because they don't see anyone as qualified. Because no one else did like the legwork to say, hey, I would like to go on this example of X, Y, and Z. Why you need this? So when you do simple things like that, it sets you apart from other people. So they're gonna be like, okay, we'll send you here to go do that. I'm like, okay, sweet. As opposed to like these other jobs, there's no opportunities like that. Or at least the ones I was at, granted. So as far as sales goes, I like a lot more because it's, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody, but if you do put forth the necessary effort, you're usually met with a reciprocated result, something that's good. So that's why I like it. So, for example, for this assignment that I got to go on, I did good at my job. I found the opportunity. I found this special assignment. Other people didn't know about it. So I put my name forward and said, hey, I think this would help because of X, Y, and Z, or this could be super useful. We have the budget for it. Just send me here and I can bring something back. That would be useful. A lot of opportunities like that happen. Like I got to go to the Philippines. That was super cool, and that was because, like I said, right, you do your job well. People recognize that, so you get to do more opportunities. I got to go to Africa for a special assignment. They were like, "Oh, we want him over there because he's good at his job." So I like that. There's an immediate reward usually because people recognize when you're good at something. At least in the Air Force.
That's definitely nice because I know even in corporate jobs, people aren't recognized for effort they put in or
Yeah,
extra effort. So that's definitely nice
exactly.
that they recognize that. I
Yeah.
think advantage you have as well, kind of what I picked up from what you're saying is with the Air Force, you have an advantage over other people, I guess, whose parents weren't in the Air Force because your parents already know how it works probably better than you do with their years of experience in the Air Force. So I guess that kind of helps you out if you need someone to talk to about how to navigate certain things as well.
Yeah, and the big advantage too. So I got to go to ASU, so I was very well socialized and acclimated to dealing with different kinds of people, dealing with different types of situations. A lot of these people haven't had the opportunity to experience that same thing. So when I come in, they'll have situations that other people might not react well to or know how to respond to, but I've dealt with something similar in the past, so I'm able to deal with it in a much better fashion than others might. Like I said, we do have a lot of like younger people, so they might have some hang up at work, but they don't understand. They get upset about something, but they don't see the big picture as to why this is happening. A supervisor might say something to a younger airman, and that airman's like, "I hate this guy. This is stupid." And it's like, okay, well, you got to take a step back and say, "Hey, they're saying this because of this, right? This is why." You have to understand why certain things are happening. So having better perspective and being able to cooperate with people that may not have the same mindset as you is also a big thing. Because if you're argumentative, no one likes to work with people that are difficult. Like, and that goes for the Air Force, for the military as well. Like, no one's going to want to cooperate with you if you have a reputation for just arguing or always having a bad attitude or just not doing anything. So you'll have people that is like, okay, we know so and so's not gonna fucking go on this trip. This guy would die if you left him alone for fucking more than a day. You know, like they notice things like that. So yeah, I think being like I said, being an ASU, being older, definitely
Yeah, I
had a
think
chance to
I think that
mature.
definitely has to do with maturity as well, right? I
Yeah,
think if we were 21
100%.
and we were having this conversation, our thought process and mindset would be a little bit different than if we were
Yeah.
our current age,
Yeah,
right?
because these guys will go out and they'll get like hammered, and I'm like, but I'm like an old man now, so I'm like, I don't care, so I'll go to work and I'll do my job, and like I did my job, well, they'll be like, that's not cool, and it's like, okay, well, you're getting paid to be here, so see, like I said, like, I wouldn't have had that same like do your job mindset when I was younger because I just want to have fun. So now I'm the one where it's like, oh, doing well and getting paid is fun for me as opposed to just being an idiot. Like I said, there we go. So they have a lot of time.
So I guess your job kind of from what you're saying, it's almost like a 24/7 thing, right? Because you're living abroad due to your job and you're I guess are you living on base right now currently?
No. So they when you're travel for temporary duty, they give you a hotel. For me, I have an apartment. So right now I have an apartment for 6 months. So it saves them a lot of money to be here because usually you're not there. You're there for maybe a month at most. And if you're there for a month, you get a hotel typically. But if you're there for, I'm here for 6 months. So it's cheaper for the government to get me an apartment as opposed to rent a hotel every day for 6 months. That would be ridiculous.
And what about in Germany? How's your housing situation there?
No matter where you live, they're going to give you a budget for a house and for groceries. So depending on where you live, right? So if I live in California, my budget for a house is going to be higher because it's California, it's expensive. Same thing in Germany. So I live in Germany, they give me a big budget for a house as well as utilities because Germans do utilities different, right? It's pretty nice setup. Also, all the houses in Germany they're not super expensive in that area we're at. So I have like a 4-story house that I just live in alone, which is pretty cool. Also terrifying at night, but it's a good time. So they hook it up really well. So like anyone, like the only time it sucks is if, like I said, if you're like in Clovis, where I was in New Mexico, if you don't have roommates, it's very hard to have a nice place. So they do let you combine your rent. So let's say I live in New Mexico, right? I get 850 a month just for rent. That's not my regular pay. That is allocated just for my housing. I get 3 other guys. So now I'm bad at math, but over $2,400, right, between the 4 of us. So we can now get a house that is
About
like 2,400.
2,600.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
850. Yeah.
yeah, between like 2,600, and it's a nice house. So that's also super nice. Well, if you live by yourself, obviously, depending on the area, you might have a shittier house because you have a certain budget. But if you get roommates or something, or depending on the area you live in, you can live in a really nice house. Like, I haven't seen anyone's house where I've been like, this sucks. Like, everyone has a really nice house, and that's like at an enlisted level. So the officers get paid way more. I had a friend, his parents were both officers. They had an indoor heated pool. It was an indoor pool. That's insane. They had like a home theater and an indoor pool, and they had
So
like,
based on your rank, you kind of get more money for housing
you
allowance?
get a lot more money. And my old boss had horses at his house.
Interesting.
He had like
Well,
a ranch.
so apart from your salary, your rent and groceries are a separate expense that's just given to you as well.
Yeah, so you get your base pay, and then you get your grocery and rent pay.
Okay,
And you
interesting.
get your health insurance, which is just all covered. So they just go whatever I want. Just like, my finger hurts. All right. It's included. I
So
don't want to get my
no
teeth cleaned. Go.
copay or anything like that then.
What do you mean copay?
So copay is like when you have so like insurance will cover most of it, but you have to pay like
Oh,
50
no.
bucks.
It's 100%. I don't give
Okay,
a shit.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I know as well if you have a spouse,
Oh,
you
you get
get
paid a lot. Oh, yeah.
more money, and then if you have kids as well.
So this is why everyone, and it's true, but like that funny stereotype that military people get married after like a month, like it's true, soon, but you get paid a lot more. I say a lot. I mean, I think it's a pretty solid amount because I'm pretty content with the pay. I mean, obviously I'd like to get paid more, but yeah, you get paid extra, which is nice. And depending on if your spouse lives with you or if they live somewhere else, you get more or less, but it's still extra. And if you have a kid, you get paid extra as well, but you only get paid for one kid. So you have more than one kid, they're not going to pay you extra for the extra kid. But you do get 3 months PTO every time you have a kid.
Oh, okay. So male or female.
Yeah, no, both parents. So if you're both in the military, you both get 3 months. But either way, whoever's in the military gets 3 months PTO.
So apart from that, do you get like pension or any other benefits?
Yeah, you get a retirement check after 20, which is pretty solid. So you kind of just hang out. My dad and mom do that. So my mom just travels a lot now because she retired. She doesn't really need to do anything.
So could you join at 18 and then retire at 38 and just
Yeah.
collect the check?
Oh, yeah.
Really
Super
interesting.
chill. And then you could also get a second job because you did 20 years in the military, work as a civilian. So a government employee who's not in the military, and then do another 20 years and then retire at like 58 and then get 2 retirement checks. And you get 2 checks by the time you're 60. And then you just hang out. Also, when you buy a house, there's no money down. So you can literally just buy a house and then just don't have to put a deposit. You just buy a house straight up.
And that's just for military?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Interesting. Wow, I didn't know. That's a lot of benefits from being in like Air Force for you then. Looks like it.
Yeah. So you can buy a house and then rent it out to somebody. So that'll pay your mortgage. And then after a year or two, it's like a year or two, there's like a time limit. You can buy another house. And
For
you can-
zero down as well?
Yeah, for zero down. So there's people that will
Wow.
buy 3 houses in like different bases because you'll like say you live in Hawaii. I buy a house. I move to New Mexico. I rent the house in Hawaii to somebody. buy a house in New Mexico, live in that house in New Mexico, leave, rent that house to somebody, and then you just do that. And so you just make money because they're going to pay your mortgage the whole time.
So is it no down payment or no interest? Because no down payment seems kind of crazy.
There's no money down.
No money down? Okay,
I'm
wow.
pretty sure. I'm like take that with a grain of salt. I haven't bought a house, and my mom did. She bought like three. Yeah, it's very. I'm pretty sure it's no money down.
Well, ideal path essentially would be like join Air Force at 18 and then have them pay for your college, get free college, work there till you're like 38, and then you get all the benefits of being in the Air Force, like free healthcare, free insurance, and no down payment on a house, and also like the check every month, and then just work a couple more years to like 60, and then you're chilling, I guess.
I mean, you could be chilling at 40 technically, but like you're gonna get bored. Like my parents get bored, right? So they like my dad works at Barnes and Nobles because it's like a routine, but it's like a low stress job. So it's like something fun he does. Like he doesn't need to work there, but it's nice to have something to do. Like oh, I got to go to work, but it's not like work, right? It just keeps him consistent with the schedule. Same thing with my mom. So, but I'd say ideal though would just be. I mean, not for everybody, obviously, but it's kind of like a cheat code. I feel like you just go in either like you said, 4 years then get college, or you could just go 4 years at college and become an officer and then do the 20. Because the officer retirement check is obviously going to be more, so you get more money. Obviously, the higher rank you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So even in
officer,
retirement, it's the same thing.
so you get paid. Your retirement check is based off your rank. So that's why you want to retire at the highest rank you can, because then you get paid more. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
So after 20 years, they don't require you to stay on longer. It's just once you're
you,
done with 20, it's good.
you can if you want, but yeah, no, it's 20s to get full retirement.
So do most people stay on or do they just kind of leave after
Depends.
20?
Depends. Depends how much they like it or what their job is, or if they're an officer. Some people stay in past 20 if they're like a really high rank. Some people just leave really early though. Like I know, or just I'm just going to get out. But also at the same time, like I said, it's not for everybody. So if you're like I said, it's usually younger people too. It's like I hate this, so I'm gonna do my other job somewhere else. Like okay, that's fine. Like it's not for everybody, but a lot of them get out earlier too. So there's some people that stay, and there's a lot that get out early.
So kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, how easy is it to rank up just like regularly? If you, like you said, you can go to ROTC and become an officer immediately, but if you were just to join as a regular recruit, how easy is it to level up to a higher position?
As an officer, I'd say it's really easy because the first three ranks are free, right? So you start there's a first and a second lieutenant. I get them confused. So one of those you start out, which is the gold bar, and that's lieutenant. And then 2 years go by and you get I think second lieutenant. I don't know. And you become a lieutenant again. So then you rank up after 2 years. Then after 2 years again, you become a captain. So within like 4 years, you're a captain, which is a pretty solid paycheck. Like it's a good time. And that's after 4 years. But then to go higher, you have to get a master's degree, is what I've heard. And when you get a master's degree, you can then become a major. And depending on your job, that's easier or harder. So pilots get promoted very quickly because they're always doing stuff. They always got stuff going on. So we've got a lot of people like captains and majors in my old job when I was with the
So,
gunship.
so they have a lot of experience, essentially. That's kind of why I'm assuming.
Yeah, like our commander, he
A
was
lot of missions.
yeah, because it goes from after captain it's major, lieutenant colonel, colonel, and then general. So our commander was a lieutenant colonel. He wasn't even 40 yet, but he was a pilot. They do a lot of really important stuff, so it's easier to get promoted because their Air Force resume is a lot more impressive than like say a guy that just did I don't know like services like oh I worked at the gym. The gym was really clean. Cool man. Thank you.
Mhm.
Right. Right. So it's like that. And then same thing with enlisted. You have to take a test, like a written test, like a multiple choice 80-question test to become a staff sergeant, which is the first NCO rank. But the first three ranks are free. They just give them you can get one of the ranks 6 months early. It's called below the zone. So basically, you submit a package, which is like a resume, and you do like a review board and they decide if they want to give you your rank early. And if you get your rank early, it lets you test to become a sergeant early, right? So that's the advantage there. So you can take your staff sergeant test earlier. And the staff sergeant test, they basically have it's like 1,600 potential questions. Like 1,600. Fucking sucks. There's like an app for it you can study for. There's sections. And then they take this 80-question test and there's a cutoff score. So if you don't hit the cutoff score, you don't get promoted, right? So you have to hit a minimum score to get promoted. But if you're really good, then they might give you what's called a must promote statement, which essentially adds 20 points to your overall test score, right? So say the cutoff is at 360 and you get 350, but they gave you a must promote, so you got 20 points. You just promoted because they gave you the 20 points, so it bumps your score past the passing rate. So that's all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a decent amount of career advancement, though, or like you're pretty satisfied with the amount of career advancement and the opportunities to advance your career as well.
Yeah, but I'm also lucky because I have a good job. So there's jobs that suck ass. I mean, like, in my opinion, they suck ass. Like, you could be security forces and you just have to stand at the gate for 12 hours and check ID cards. That's terrible. But not do that. Or you could be, people ended up were maintenance and they're really cool, but they also told me that their shifts fucking suck and they have to work for 12 hours by themselves and it's cold or it's really hot and they're just working on a plane for like 12 hours. So my job, I got very lucky. The people that do even less, though, like finance or like personnel, they just sit in like a cubicle all day. They leave at like 3, but you get more advancement based off of the impact your job has. So my job is affecting things happening in the real, like everyone's job affects things that happen in the real world. Mine is a more direct impact. Like I'll interact with certain people that directly affect something that's happening, right? As opposed to like, look, maintenance is important, but they only interact with the plane, right? They're not going to talk to the captain flying the plane. They're not going to talk to whoever's in charge of the operation. But like, even if when we give them briefs, we'd be like, you guys want to see why you fixed the plane? And we give them a presentation on what's happening. They would be like, I don't fucking know, dude. So when you have a
Yeah, I mean,
job,
I guess it kind of goes back to what you were saying about pilots advancing a lot quicker, right? Like they have more experience with all sorts of things that you guys are doing compared to someone who
yeah, like
isn't
I said,
working
it's
on
the
missions.
resume, right? Like, so and people can change their job. So, like my old sergeant, supervisor, he was really good at his job, but he used to be like a maintenance guy. But then he switched over to intelligence. So, and then he became the Intel Analyst of the Year, right? So you can change your job and then get a lot more out of the new job that you change. Because I was going to know, right, when you initially sign up, what the job is going to entail, right? Because the recruiter's job is to get you to sign the paper. So they could be like, "Oh, this is super cool. You get a gun. You get to like get a taser. All this fun shit." Like, and then it's like, now I'm standing at a gate for 12 hours. Or like, oh, you get to work on all the really advanced aircraft. And it's like, okay, well, I have a fucking wrench for fucking 12 hours on the flight, and it's hot as shit here. So you don't know until it happens. Or like I said, I had an advantage because I was told what the job's meant by my parents, as opposed to people that come in and they don't know what the job is. And like, well, now I'm stuck doing this for 4 years.
So do you choose what job you want to do when you're in basic training, or how does that work?
So you go to the recruiter, and then you take a test, take the ASVAB, which is like a little test. It's like kind of like the SAT, but not as hard, and it just has like math, English, writing, mechanical, computer, electrical, like different portions. And based off of your cumulative score, right? So you get graded for each section. And based on your score in each section, you're eligible for a list of jobs, right? So if you bomb this test, for example, you're not going to be able to work with nukes because you're kind of a fucking idiot. So we're not, right?
We're not going to
So
trust our
yeah,
safety with you.
like
Yeah.
yeah, you got a 5. Yeah, you're lucky you know how to breathe by yourself. But if you get like a really high score, then you can choose any job you
So
want.
can you study for this test, or is it just
Yeah,
like
you
they
can
give it to
study.
you?
They have
Okay,
study
so
guides. Yeah, I didn't fucking study. Fucking went to college. But yeah, so I got
how difficult was it though, would
It's
you
not
say?
hard. It's like I said, it's like an 8th grade level test. Actually, I will say the mechanical part, like for someone like me who has no fucking idea how shit works, that was hard because I build things. I don't put cars together. I don't know. So stuff like those sections or like the computer section was kind of hard because I don't do coding, right? But those are for specialized jobs. So based off that, they give you a list and they say, all right, choose 10 jobs off this list and rank them in order of what you want. And then if one of them opens up, we'll call you and you can tell us if you want it, or if not, you have to wait. Because you have to wait for it to open. They're not always available. So they know when one opens up, they call you and let you know. So like I
Okay, so
put,
you can kind of choose, I want this job after you've taken your test. So they'll
yeah,
give you the list of jobs that you can basically get, and then they'll call you once a job like that becomes available.
yeah. So like what I did, I put like for like my top 4, I put like public affairs, air traffic control, cyber, intelligence, cybersecurity, something cyber related, and then intelligence analyst, like I currently have now. So for the first two jobs, they send you to this place called MEPS, which is you get a physical, right? Like when you for sports, or they check your eyes, make sure you're not sick, you know. So they check like your depth perception, your hearing, all that stuff, drug test you. So when they do that, though, they check your eyes, so one of the tests. So I got disqualified because I have depth perception because I have glasses. So I wasn't allowed to do public affairs, which was weird as fuck because it's public affairs is literally just like Air Force news and shit. In hindsight, glad I didn't have to do PA because they kind of suck. But then I had air traffic control, which kind of made sense. It's like, okay, you can't see out of the tower if you're in the tower. So it's like, okay, fair. But once again, glasses exist. So you can get disqualified for medical reasons from certain jobs. So I was disqualified from two because of my eyesight. So in the third job, cyber, they call me and they say, hey, you can leave in a month, but that's only if the kid that currently has the job, right? Because the kid went there before me and put this job. They said he can't pass his physical training test. So if he doesn't pass the PT test in a month, you can have his job. I was like, okay, cool, because there's like a base physical requirement for everyone. Air Force is the easiest by far, but there's still a base physical requirement. It's actually harder to do the PT test in basic training than it is once you're in the actual military, which I think is ridiculous, but that's a whole other rant. But yeah, so he passes his test, so I don't get the third job. So then the fourth job, which is what I have now, they call me and they say, hey, this is available. Do you want to do this? And it's been like a few months, right? Because I went there in like March, and then this is around like June, July is when they're calling me. So I'm like, yeah, sure, definitely. So, okay, cool. You're going to leave on this date from this area. So then I'm like, okay, cool. So they go stay with my mom in Florida for that month leading up to there because I'll just go to the station that's in Florida. And then from there, they'll fly me to basic training in Texas. That's that general process. I'm not really sure how it works for college ROTC. Not really sure how they do that. But that's how it works for the enlisted people.
So did you have any preference because your parents were previously in the Air Force and that you were like an Air Force child at all, or no?
They just told me do not do services and do not do security forces. And they said, my dad said, choose a job that's inside. And I said, yes, I will choose a job that's inside.
No, but no, I'm saying so that's what your parents told you, but what about like the Air Force itself? Do you get any preference for being?
I don't give a shit.
No? Okay.
They're
Just
like,
wondering.
so some kid, from what I've heard, like it didn't happen when I was in there, but in like basic training, if some kid tried to say like their dad or their uncle or their grandpa was like some big Air Force person, so they just yelled at that guy more. So
Interesting.
yeah, they just
So
yelled at him more.
how long did you do basic training for?
Like 8 months.
8 months. Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's not hard. Like I said, the Marines and Army, they probably actually do stuff. Ours was basically, can you follow instructions? And that was it. It was I'm not gonna say it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard. It was just irritating. Like I said, I'm one of the oldest people there, so I'm used to shit, right? I understand, a little more mature. I can understand what's happening, what I'm supposed to do. Then we got some kids who are just morons, and like that's like I'm not. They're idiots. So for example, we have to clean the entire dormitory that we're in, and they assign you a role when you get there. Everyone has a job, and there's like 50 of us. Everyone has a job. My job, because I was the biggest and the oldest, was dorm chief. So I am in charge of the dormitory, which was a little irritating because if the dormitory, if they fuck up, I get yelled at because I'm in charge, right? So naturally, I was irritated quite often because I'm not about to get yelled at because you're a fucking moron. So we would do these things called dust downs, and basically you'd have to assign a crew of people, a crew of little morons, and they would clean the bathroom. Then you'd have a crew of little idiots, and they would clean the day room. And then you'd have some other morons sweeping outside, polishing the fucking metal, and then some other idiots lining up the beds. And usually there was always at least one incident where I had to yell. For example, one kid, he hid under the bed. I don't know why. Kids do weird shit when they're isolated for 8. Like I did some weird shit too. People like their brains. Like I was making bird noises at one point, but that's another thing. But like this guy hides under his bed, and I'm like, I can see you. Get out from under the bed, and he's just like under there. And I'm like, you think this is cute? So I pick the bed up and I drop it on top of him, and he gets out from under the bed. Or I had another kid. We have wall lockers, and the wall lockers are where you hang all your stuff. Every person has a locker. Like it's a big locker. one of the kids thinks it's funny to sit inside the locker and hide in the locker. So I lock the locker and start banging on the side of it. No one hid in the locker after that. So it's like very Lord of the Flies kind of setup going on down there. Yeah. Granted, we also always failed the inspection because I think we're designed to fail, but also these guys are idiots. Like they'd have to dust the top of shit, or they'd have to. Some kid wouldn't flush the toilet, or some guy would leave his fake gun somewhere. It was a pain in the ass. And then the best part, you have to march everywhere, which sucks ass because I'm not coordinated, so I can't march well. And then these guys are idiots. You're not allowed to talk, right? Because the whole thing is hazing. It's like really light hazing. You're not allowed to use that word, but that's basically just like light hazing. But it's not even that big of a deal. You have to march everywhere and you can't talk, right? So this is a good example. Some idiot gets a nosebleed. So I have to go with him upstairs to make sure he stops bleeding. And I tell the other morons, I say, you stay in formation, shut the fuck up. I will be back. Because there are, we call them MTIs, and they're the guys with big funny hats. And they walk around the entire thing, and their job is to yell at you. That's their job. So we're in public, they're out there in the courtyard. I'm like, wait here. And by the time I get down, they get screamed at by some fucking MTI that I don't know because they were talking. He's like, who's the dorm chief? And I was like, everyone close reports is ordered. Trainee close reports is ordered. You have to say that statement, by the way. You are not allowed to talk unless it's preceded by trainee, whatever your name is, reports is ordered. And then you can talk. If you forget to say trainee close reports is ordered, you get screamed at. Trainee close reports is ordered, blah, 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 blah. He's like, why are they talking? And I was like, I told them not to talk. Well, you're the one in charge. And I'm like, I was upstairs. Why were you upstairs? Because the guy has a nosebleed. And he's like, so? And I was like, what do you mean, so? So he's like, how are you going to survive in tech school if you can't keep these guys? And I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh, well, because none of these morons have the same job as me, so I will be just fine. So there's a lot of that. And then there was the shift. It was called EC, and you have door guards. So we simulate fuse. So every dormitory has a big metal door, and there's two guys on EC, and their job is to stand by the door. And this is the entire time everyone's sleeping, right? Because you sleep from 9 to like 5. So everyone's just sleeping, and these two idiots, whoever they are manning the door. And sometimes the sergeant would come up and he'll bang on the door, and you have to like answer the door the right way. Like you have to like make sure, verify it's them, follow the procedure on the door. It's super stressful. Like, fuck. So it was 2-hour shifts, and everyone had to do it. And you'd work from like 9 to 11, 11 to 1, etc. Right? So we had one guy whose job was to make the schedule. So he would just put people he didn't like on these like horrendous shifts. Like you're like you go to bed at 9 and then you're waking up at 1 to do this fucking shift and going back to bed at like 3. Right? So your sleep is just fucked. So I would have this system where I would trade because they're little idiots, by the way, So we get protein bars and they're chocolate flavored because you're not allowed to have candy in basic training. There's no candy. There's no fucking sweets, right? It's you get no.
So 8 months, you're not allowed to eat any candy, no sweets,
Well, they don't have any. Like
no
there's nothing.
phone, no phone either.
You get your phone, depending on how nice your sergeants are, you get it once a week, maybe for 5 minutes to call somebody, depending. Like, it depends. We got 5 minutes every couple of weeks. Some people were way too nice, and they got 15 minutes every week. That's crazy. Like that. So, yeah, but you got your phone. But we get these protein bars at dinner, and they're chocolate flavored. And so I would just take like 3 or 4 of them. Because you're supposed to get one, but it's the little cafeteria ladies that give them to you. And I'm the last one in line. So I would just ask for more. And then this was currency. So if you don't want to do something when the sergeant wasn't there, you would just pay some kid to do it because they cared more about eating chocolate than they cared about actually sleeping for a consistent 8 hours, which blew my mind. But, I'll take it. So I never fucking worked on that door.
And you're sleeping for 8 hours because you have like physical activities to do the next day too, right?
They're not even physical. They're just like mentally just like
Draining.
Yeah, here's an example, because it's not the Army, it's not the Marines. They're not allowed to smoke you, which is the expression, for more than a minute. So because they can't just make you do push-ups until you throw up, which I think is wrong, I think they should let you do that. But anyway, you can't do that. So this is what they would do. They would have what we call bed drills, and you have to make military beds a very certain way, and it sucks. Like it's it's hospital corners. You can look that up. You have to fold the sheets a certain way and have it. And it looks good. I will tell you that it does look nice. You ever been to like a hospital bed? The way that's all folded, very nice. It's like that, but we're all morons, so it's hard for us to do. So we would do this thing where we strip the bed, so you have to take all the sheets off the bed, and then you would have to start from the beginning, and you would have 30 seconds to do the first sheet. You have 30 seconds to like make that shit like smooth, no wrinkles, no creases, nothing. And they'd be like, somebody fucked up, strip the bed. And then you strip the bed. And they say, okay, 30 seconds, go again.
So everyone has to do it at the same
Oh yeah,
time.
yeah. And then you do it again.
So if
It's like,
one person messes up, you all have to do it again.
yeah.
Oh man, that's rough.
And then sometimes because this was because they knew because like I would do the same thing right because of like they knew no one you're not going to finish the bed like no one's finishing this bed, but sometimes they'd let you get to like step 2, so you got the first sheet and you got the second sheet, you're thinking fuck we've almost done it, we've almost made all the beds and then we can stop. Oh, you fucked up the corner, strip the bed. So then you just for like an hour you're just stripping the bed, putting the sheet, strip the bed, put the sheet, strip the bed, put the sheet. And then the other thing they would do that was really fun was they would say wall locker, center aisle. So you have the wall locker and the center aisle in between your bed. And you would have to stand at the wall locker, center aisle, wall locker, center aisle, wall locker, center aisle, wall locker, back and forth, just walk back and forth to it. And you have to go, proceeding, sir, proceed. And they would just go fast. So you're just literally just going back and forth between your fucking wall locker and this little gap between your bed, just for like an hour. Yeah. So that was fun.
So mentally, it seems like you were challenged quite a bit, huh?
I wasn't challenged. I was irritated more often than not. But yeah, some of these kids were challenged.
No,
Like
but
fun.
what I mean by challenge is you have to like, because you can't obviously be like, I'm not gonna do it, right? You have
No,
to
you're
do
not.
it. So
Yeah.
you had to like control your irritation, basically.
Like I mean, for me, it was like I said, I'm older, so I knew what was going to happen. Like I fully expected it because it's that's the point, right? It's to just like you know. So I wouldn't get mad at the instructor. I liked our instructors. Honestly, I think the instructor should have been meaner, but the kids would piss me off so much because we would get because they do this thing as well. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. When the instructor, right? When the big angry man with the funny hat asks a question, usually he doesn't actually want an answer, right? You'd think he'd pick up on that after like the first or second time that you answered and he fucking screamed at you for your answer and then made you do push-ups, right? You'd think that these kids didn't fucking get, for example, why is this big not made? And then, is there an answer? And then some dipshit would be like, he would like think he was in like a movie. So he would like think like, oh, he wants to get it because we don't respect you. So what? What the fuck did you? Are you fucking stupid? You dumb fuck. And he's like, oh, you don't respect me? You don't respect? Get on your face. You know, push Texas. And I was like, he doesn't want an answer. And they would leave. They would leave us alone. So I'd grab these because I'm like, don't fucking open your mouth. Just shut up. Just shut the fuck up. So do shit like that, or oh, they say other dumb shit, and I'm like, hey, how about you close your mouth? One kid started crying. It was hilarious. Like actually, there was a lot of crying. I just remember this in particular. So this one guy, we're doing something, and obviously you're not allowed to talk, but we're gonna try to talk. This one guy starts laughing, and then he's like, "What's so damn funny?" And then we're all just like standing there like this, like, "What's so damn funny?" Trainees, whatever the fuck his name was, Psy or whatever. And then the guy's like, he's not saying shit. Like he's not saying shit. And then he's like, "Okay, well until you want to answer me, everybody plank position." So I'm fine because I actually work out because I'm vain. But other people, they don't work out. Right? So they're just fucking kids. So they're all doing planks. And this one guy starts fucking shaking and he starts like crying. He's like, please answer him. Please. I'm just like, holy fuck, dude. Pull yourself together. Good God. Like, yeah. It was,
So this would be an interesting reality TV
it
show.
would be hilarious. That's all I thought the entire time I was in there was like, someone needs to put a fucking camera here. This would be great. If you put like regular people in here and they weren't allowed to leave or like fight me, it would be the funniest shit. It was great. Yeah. So it was that was a long 8 weeks. I will say
8 weeks or 8 months?
8 weeks.
Okay, you had said it was 8 months. That's why I was like,
Oh,
wow.
oh, 8 months. Yeah, no, fuck no. I'd shoot myself. My other training was 6 months.
Okay.
This
Because
was
you
eight.
had previously said 8 months. I was like, was it that long? I didn't remember it being that long.
No, 8 weeks. Yeah, and it was, but it was, and then they have like one of the worst jobs if you got in trouble. It's called a chow runner, and it's a little not. They can't be as mean anymore, so it might not even be that bad anymore. But you have to going ahead of your flight. The flight is what they call the group of you idiots in the dorm is your flight, which is like 50 of you. You have to go in ahead and say this. You have to memorize the statement. You have to memorize it and say it to the sergeants that are inside the dining hall. And you have to say it. And if you fucked up, they would start screaming at you. So you would just stand there and get yelled at because you fucked up the thing. So anytime our instructor didn't like somebody, you're shadowrunner, and you would just go in there and get fucking screamed at. Also, you have 10 minutes to eat food. That's a big thing. You have 10 minutes.
That's it.
After 10 minutes, you get the fuck up. You're done. Get the fuck up.
So if you haven't finished your food, you don't get to eat it?
It doesn't fucking matter. You have 10 minutes to eat your fucking food. You eat 3 times a day, though. So it's like, you're fine.
I mean, you eat pretty fast, though. I'm assuming that wasn't an issue for you.
Impressive plates. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, you have to, and then we have PT for PT is really easy. Yeah, you just run, do some push-ups.
It seems like you kind of enjoyed basic training, though, from a sense, from what I'm understanding. You made a lot of memories, I guess, that you kind of remember.
Memories.
The good or bad.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was, but it was it was definitely it's an interesting
experience. Yeah, it's experience for sure.
It's definitely cool. Like, I mean, I wouldn't do it again because it's you already know too much. Once you're in, right? 'Cause you don't know anything, right? So now I'm in. I'm like, why the fuck are you yelling at me? Oh, like, stop yelling at me, right? But when you don't know anything, it's a lot more like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Like, what have I got myself into? Kind of.
Yeah. So, then you have a minute to shower. So.
Wow, just a minute? That's kind of crazy.
You have 10 minutes for all 50 people to shower. There are 10 showers, I think. So, and the water's cold.
So do people? Some people take. I'm sure some people take longer than others, right?
Dumb motherfuckers. Well, I'd have to stand there and scream in the shower. We're all just fucking naked and just yelling at people. Get the fuck under the water. Get the fuck under the water. Get the fuck under the water. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Because, like, you have 10 minutes and they're going to come in and scream at you if you're not wearing your fucking clothes. And, like, the water. So these kids are just fucking waiting for the water to heat up. I'm like, you do not have time for the water to heat up. Stand under the water. But it's
cold water, right?
Yeah. Put the fucking soap on your body and and fucking rinse off. Then you had this one dumb kid. This was his logic. This is just the level of people I was dealing with. You meet a lot of interesting people in basic training that you'll never see again, thank God. He would put soap on his head, and he said, if I just put the soap on my head and it comes down my body, that's the same as if I actually washed myself. And he smelled like asshole.
So do a lot of these kids make it out of basic training? Like, what's the percentage?
5 did not.
5 out of how many?
15?
Wow, so that's like only 10% don't make it from your class.
It might have been 40. It might have been 5 out of 40.
5 out of 40? I guess that's still close.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it seems like you had a very interesting experience in basic training. I guess it's an experience that not a lot of people have, though. Like,
everybody that goes through has an interesting time. I've heard some interesting stories. I don't believe half of them, but I've also met some really stupid people, so maybe they are true.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess continuing on with our conversation. So, how do you kind of stay grounded and maybe like take care of your mental health with responsibilities of your role? I mean, you're traveling quite a bit. You kind of in this position long term, you don't have the ability to just quit and leave. You have to fulfill your contract. So, like, how do you kind of cope with it mentally?
They're really big on mental health in the military because, people do unfortunately commit suicide. There's, especially certain locations, it's a lot more common, unfortunately, than others. So, like the old base I was at, New Mexico, I told you, it sucks. Clovis is a piece of shit town. I don't care if you're from Clovis. You can't tell me I'm wrong. Just look at a picture of it. But it's terrible, right? So I was lucky because of my job. So I got to go places a lot. A lot of people don't get to leave, right? Because their job doesn't require them to leave. So my job allows me, like, okay, well, so we have to go to the Philippines. The air crew needs an intel guy in the Philippines to tell them where shit is, right? Oh, the air crew needs a guy to go to Iceland. So I got to travel. But like other people, you don't need to travel. Your job is here. What the fuck are you gonna do over there? But you're already over there. You don't need to go with them. So they're just stuck there for however long until they get to switch bases. So they have a lot of resources. Like we have, at least certain places, we have like a personal trainer or like a dietitian. We had like a float tank. So, well, obviously like a chaplain or a psychiatrist. They did trips. I remember I went on one. I also didn't know what it was, so I felt really bad after because I was like, someone else should have definitely had this slot. They'll do like trips to Colorado Springs, right? So I went for like a week. It was like a big retreat in the mountains during the work week, and that was really nice. So there was a lot of interesting, like cool people I met over there. So they definitely needed that. So yeah, they'll do a lot of trips. There was like skydiving. There's just a lot of cool things, and they'll send emails out about it for us. They're big on that. So those are available, and also, like I said, I like my job. But for people that don't like their job, they can reach out to those communities and organizations, which is nice. So
Apart from that, what do you kind of do on a day to day that you feel like helps you out?
yeah, I need to go to the gym fairly consistently. But that's just burning my brain now for a while. But that's good. So I'll go to the gym fairly regularly. Obviously, just to have a balance. I don't go every day. That's too much. And it's like if you eat too much dessert, right? You don't want to. If you eat too much, you don't want to eat it anymore, right? Same thing with the gym or video games, whatever it is. So I'll do that. And my video games. Go out, if there's like a trip, go travel, it's always good to like talk to your parents and stuff or friends and family. So it's not terrible. I'm also very different in terms of like I'm very content being in isolation for longer periods of time than the average person might. So that's kind of nice to have where I could go for a while and I'm like, oh fuck, it's been like a month. I haven't really talked to anybody. That's not good. So it's that definitely helps out. So, but that's probably also just due to like being an only child. Only child, I'm used to like hanging out by myself, playing with my toys by myself. So I like the alone time. So that's a lot easier. But for people that have like a big family or are used to a big social circle, they come to like some of these places and they're just by themselves. I can see where that would be super difficult to adjust, but not for me personally.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Being an only child myself too, it's definitely nice. I guess some
Relax.
people it's
Don't
hard. Some people, I mean, it's hard if you're not around people, but for me, I definitely enjoy time alone and just being by myself. It definitely helps with the mental as well, not having anyone in your ear, just doing whatever
Yeah,
you want.
because I had like in middle school. I remember you have sleepovers and shit, right? When you're in middle school, high school. I had a friend, and I realized this is when I realized I need my space. I had a friend who's one of my best friends. Usually, it's like you stay over for the evening, have some pizza, play video games. The next morning, your parents pick you up. He stayed with us for a week. At the end of that week, I fucking hated this guy because it was just in my shit. I was like, I need you to go. Like, I cannot do it. So it works out great when I only have to see people a limited amount of time. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. So, space is good. Space is good.
No, for sure. And totally feel that. I mean, I guess next question is kind of, have there been any moments that you've doubted the path you've taken? Like, are you pretty fulfilled with what you're doing at the moment?
I would say so. There's definitely been moments where I'm like, yeah, I made the right call here. Like, I'd say more so moments like, yeah, I'm in the right spot as opposed to, the other way around. So, like, the most recent assignment I went on, I can't really talk about it, but I was doing some stuff. I was like after a second, I was like, this is really like, people have no idea how the fuck to use any of this, but this is super fucking cool. I'm the one using it. People can't even like grasp, and I can't even talk about it, but yet I'm doing it. So that was super cool.
Something only you know and something you can't tell anyone about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I can't talk about this, but I'm like, this is a big fucking deal. I'm fucking cool. Uh, Shit like that's fun. And then also, anytime I walk around my house, this is no. But anytime I walk around my house in Germany, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking nice. Fucking 4-story heated floors. Yeah, this is fucking nice. So, uh, yeah, so that's not bad. So especially, yeah, and like I'll go on like trips. Like I said, I'll be in Europe. I get paid to live in fucking Europe. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking dope. So that's why I get pissed when people will complain. Because I was in Clovis, New Mexico once again. You're gonna hear Clovis, New Mexico a lot. Because I fucking hate Clovis, New Mexico. Base is cool, people are cool, mission is cool, location dog shit. But it's like I lived there, and it was fine. I mean, actually, it was not terrible, but I made it work. It wasn't the best, but I made it work, right? We literally had a crackhead break into our house and like shoot everybody, right? But we made it work. But then people that are in Florida and like, oh my god, I'm in Florida, I'm at the beach. Yeah, fuck you. Die. Like, no, yeah. I mean, there's people killing themselves in New Mexico, and you're upset because the traffic to Pensacola was like an hour long. Shut up, right? So I can't really complain. I'm in Germany, can't complain.
What about PTO and like holidays and stuff like that? Do you get
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good
yeah. No,
PTO?
it's super sick. Every holiday we get 4 days off. So say like Memorial Day, right? We had Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, and then today off. So you get 4 days off for every holiday, and then you get 30 days of PTO a year, and you can cash that in whenever you want, right? So I could have technically had today off and then taken Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, and then had like a fucking almost 2 weeks to a week and a half of just paid time off.
30 days is quite a bit. That's like, so is it 30 days times five? Because you only work 5 days a week, or do you have to include the weekends as well?
You get two. You don't have to include the week. You only include the weekend if. So I would if I took leave PTO, I would only have to take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I can stop. I get Saturday, Sunday for free. But if I took Monday off, I would have to use PTO on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, interesting. So essentially, you can get 6 weeks off a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Some
of a lot
people.
of.
So it's caps at 60. So some people just hoard PTO until they get to 60, and they'll take a month off. So
Wow, yeah, that's a
usually
long
it doesn't
time.
happen because usually your boss is not going to let you just take a month off, but you can, in theory.
If you are able to, essentially.
Yeah. And that doesn't include like holidays, like I said, Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Sick. What about sick? Do you get any sick days?
Yeah, sick days are free. You just
Okay,
say
so
I'm
if you're
sick.
sick, you just say you're sick.
So the first day, it's like, I'm sick. Okay, stay home. If you're sick the second day, you have to go to the medical facility, the hospital, or something, and then you have to have the nurses look at you, and then they'll either write you a note that says, hey, he needs to stay at home because he's sick, or they'll say, you're fine. But most
Interesting.
people are only sick for like a week, maybe at most.
So I guess going on to the next question. So, what's one misconception that people might have about working for the Air Force, and what's kind of the reality of it?
Everyone thinks you fly fucking planes. No, no, you don't. You don't fly. Like, we support planes to a degree. I mean, everything's connected in some capacity, but we don't fucking fly planes. No. Like, I work with aircrew and I got to be inside of an airplane, but like, the guy in finance isn't touching a fucking airplane, but the guy in personnel isn't touching an airplane. Secfo might guard an airplane, but like some people just don't see airplanes. Period, or they'll take a picture of one, but they're not going to actually do anything that involves the airplane. Also, like I said, we don't fly. It's hard to fly an airplane. Some people don't know this. It's difficult to learn how to fly an airplane, so we don't all fly airplanes. As cool as that
It's
would be.
quite difficult to become a pilot as well, right? For the Air
Yeah, because
Force?
you have to take a separate test to become a pilot, and then they have like a whole school you have to go to for pilot training. And it's like long. I worked with someone that did that. They washed out, but it's like a whole deal. So yeah, that's the biggest one I've heard. Because I remember when I was leaving Amazon, they said, "Man, I can't imagine you just being in that tiny little airplane." And I was like, "Well, because I won't be in the airplane, so you don't have to imagine." Yeah, so that's probably the biggest one. And then I would say the conception that the chair force is definitely accurate, for sure. But that's why I chose it, because it's comfortable. There are special tactics, and those guys are hardcore. So those are Air Force people, but those are not regular Air Force people. So there's like TAC-Ps, PJs, JTAC, all that stuff. They're fucking badass. So, but those are a special outlier group. They work closer with like the Army, Marines, and shit. So they do actual stuff. But as far as regular Air Force jobs, you're just kind of hanging, you're chilling.
Interesting. So, where do you kind of see your future going next? Or like what would you hope to achieve in your career, whether it be in the Air Force or in just in life itself?
I'll probably commission next year, ideally. So I've done a lot of stuff so far, which has been pretty cool. I'm very fortunate. So put together a little resume package and then ideally commission and then stay in the same job as an officer and then see where it goes from there. Because once that happens, I'm pretty much set, I would say, in terms of military. Honestly, I'm offered like a job somewhere else, but I don't think I'm qualified, especially after seeing some of the stuff that I've seen to work in those particular jobs. But I mean, who knows? So ideally, yeah, commission, then retire, and then based off of how much I've grown as an analyst in those next years, we get a second job. But yeah, short term commission.
So, do you think you would be doing the full 20 years then?
Oh, I definitely do full 20 unless they,
Full 20?
yeah, yeah, good at my job. It's easy to, if you like your job and you're good at your job, it's easy to want to keep doing your job. So I have no intention of leaving my job. So
Nice. Well, it's good that you enjoy it. I definitely think a lot of people don't enjoy their jobs and just do it for a paycheck. So it's good that you enjoy it.
yeah, no, my paycheck is nice too. So
So, what advice would you give to someone who is looking to follow a similar path to you?
choose Intel, just take the same job as me, man. It's pretty fucking cool. Um, yeah, like literally, yeah. Either choose that or because you can apply my job outside of the Air Force too, right? So if you don't want to stay for 20, you can get an analyst job after your 4 years. In theory, I don't think you will. Because I have some fucking idiots I work with that are like, yeah, I'm going to get out after 4 and I'm just going to work for some big company as an analyst. And I was like, your whole job, your whole existence for 4 months was making PowerPoints. And you struggle with that. So I don't think you're quite ready to get paid 6 figures to be an analyst.
So, you would do data analyst, or like what kind of analyst could you transition into?
It depends. Just depends on where you worked because you do different types of analysis depending on where you work. So like I'm an all source analyst, so they plug me in into different shit everywhere. So it just would depend, and it depend on the company. So you
So
could,
skills are kind of like transferable, essentially.
yeah, and like if you work with a certain technology, right? If I work with a certain program or a tool, it's like I am certified in this. Okay, we can use you as opposed to some guy that just fucking made PowerPoints and looked at a computer screen for 4 years. Like, what can you offer us? We can't do anything with your fucking like no. So yeah, I fully intend to stay in for that, but you can ideally get a civilian. If you're like I said, that data science guy, right? That's a tangible, actual, real world job. Like the military uses it, right? It's useful, but other companies also use it. So try to find a job that you can use outside in case you don't want to stay in is what I would say to do. So like I said, anything inside, like my dad said, because inside means computer, and computer, it's good.
So
So like
finding a career path that kind of transitions to like a corporate job as well.
yeah, like cyber or comm or intel. You know, you could do medical too if you enjoy that kind of environment. It's a little too long of hours for me, but yeah, you can do medical. Sorry, an X-ray technician is really a job. You just work as an X-ray technician. So it just depends. So that's what I would say to do. Just choose something that you either think you would already be good at, or that after 4 years you can get paid more somewhere else to do it.
That's definitely great advice, I think, for anyone watching this. If you go into a career in the military, Air Force, like Michael said, you want to be able to transition to other roles in a corporate environment in case you don't like it or can't adjust to the system, I guess. Maybe another question here for you, Michael. If you could do anything outside of the Air Force, what would you do?
Some people say I should do like personal training because I like to work out. That's a no because I'm not a very patient person. I don't like being a very patient person, right? So that would require patience. So no, I would still work out a lot. I would probably, if it was like, you're talking about like a job, right? Like I get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
job.
let's see. And then
It's any job you want to
yeah,
do.
yeah. We're going to exclude physical and mental talent as well from this question. So assuming I was qualified in every aspect, I think like a professional athlete would just be cool. I don't know. I did sports in high school, and that was always really fun. It was just a fun environment to be in. So I think any sort of competing at that level, I think any sport really would just be fun. I think football would be a lot of fun. I'm dog shit at football, so that will never happen. But I really like Madden, and I don't know, I feel like just the environment at like a football game, I was always very excited, had fun watching those. That would be super cool. But I feel like every little kid says that, so I'm going to choose another one. And hopefully, no, let's see. So, a football player would be super cool, I think. Obviously, like I said, if you want to do that, you should probably get those fundamentals way earlier.
What about competitive video game player?
See, I like video games. I would say not a player, but a creative director because I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of rants and complaints about the current industry and certain decisions made by certain companies. So I think that would be cool, being the lead creative director for a studio,
Advisor for a studio?
like the what?
The advisor to a studio or something like that?
Like the guy, the director maybe who's in charge. If I could be like in charge of EA, there we go. You let me be in charge of EA games, and I can make whatever the fuck I want. That would be good because I would do that. That would be my ideal job. I'm in charge of video games at either Microsoft or at EA. That would be cool.
I mean, Who knows? Maybe in like 20 years, there's going to be AIs that you just like
Yeah,
say like, "Hey, I want a game that does this," and then it creates a game for you. So,
yeah, that is very possible because we use AI now, which is fucking crazy. So yeah, that would be ideal. Yeah, either if you have football player, video game god, I don't know, video game overlord, giant billionaire company, and then
what's a lesson you've learned recently that changed the way you approach life or even your work?
I don't think recently, but I would say my mom would always tell me in more or less words to just say okay, right? If someone pisses you off, just be like okay, and then just wait, just be patient, and then see what happens. Right? Because a lot of people's initial instinct, if something happens, is to react, to like lash out. Not good because one, you might regret that. Obviously, two, the person might be expecting you to do that, which is also not good. Three, doesn't make you look good. And four, if you don't do that, though, it gives you more time to assess the situation and think, how can I'm obviously upset. How can I make this work to my advantage and eventually still overcome either person or event that has upset me? So always try to think rationally, I would say. To
Working through
explain
your
like actually,
problems,
huh?
working through your problems, being patient, sort of those
Yeah, because
values
I've
as
had
well.
like instances where people, I'm like, I fucking hate you. But it's like, don't say that because then domino effect, you and that could fuck up all the stuff you want to do if this happens. So sometimes it's good to like let certain shit go and then wait for your moment to strike. So I would
Yeah, I
say,
guess sometimes it's good just to not say anything either, be the
yeah.
bigger person.
Yeah, because granted, like there's instances where I'm like, fuck being the bigger person, but there's a lot of the time, right? Especially at work, right? Especially at work, just don't do it. Because if someone's a dickhead at work, chances are they're going to get what's coming to them anyway, and you don't want them to be able to use that and put you in that same category because that could just derail your whole career. You could just get fucked for that. So you don't want it. You want to make sure you manage your stuff and just be calculated when you do your things. So yeah, don't just. I'd say short synopsis: don't be reactive. Don't be too reactive. Right?
No, that's
Think
definitely a
first.
good lesson. I think definitely everyone can benefit from not being reactive, right? I feel like a lot of people get so triggered whenever you say something, even if it doesn't really affect them nowadays, But
Even on like a larger scale, nations can be reactive. We're not
exactly. I
getting
mean,
into politics.
that's life, right? At this point. But I think our last question, I kind of asked this to all of our guests, is what does happiness and success look like to you in life? Maybe in your career, depends on how you kind of want to phrase the answer, but
I would say as long as I'm not stressed out, like for like a sales job, right? I was not happy because I'm stressed all the time because like work, right? I'm like, oh, I have to hit this. So basically a job where I don't have to stress. Anything that makes it so I'm not stressed, right? So like right now, I'm not stressing. And that's due to a number of factors. But basically it's just if you have enough factors in place in your life where you're not stressed out all the time, I'd say you're probably pretty happy. Right? Because stress directly impacts happiness. So because people get stressed out about different things, so I can't just say one particular thing. If you have something that makes you stressed out, figure out why it stresses you out. See how you can do it. A lot of the times when people are stressed out, it's just because they procrastinated and they haven't taken care of something that they should have. So like just do that, right? Like I'll be stressed out sometimes. I'm like, oh, my fucking kitchen's dirty. I'm fucking stressed. And I clean. I'm like, oh wow, I feel so much better. Something small, or it can be big stuff too, obviously, but just figure out what it is. I think if you eliminate stress, you're going to be a lot happier. So whatever, because everyone's different. Like I said, so everything that you know that makes you less stressed, try to do that. So, because like for me, like I like to play video games, de-stress. Go to the gym, de-stress. Some people might like to, go for a walk or like watch TV or go play with a dog or something, right? So just if you eliminate stress, I think that's the easiest way to be happy. Is to not have things you're constantly worrying about.
no, for sure. Yeah. I feel like stress is probably the biggest instigator to happiness, so it's a good answer.
No.
Definitely would have to agree with that. But anything else you kind of want to talk about the Air Force or anything you want to tell the people?
No, not really. I mean, it's a good time. I do have some people always say, why would you work for the government? Government's evil. And then so I raise you name me a government that's better. I don't know. Sorry, that's just a little over patriotic there. But I'm saying, would you rather have China or Russia tell you what to do? That's just my thing. Those guys, not too great. Not too great. At least Uncle Sam likes you. So that's my main. That's my only little thing to put out there. So
Yes, I would definitely have to agree. Imagine working for North Korea. That
yeah, you
does
want
not
yeah,
sound
you want
that
to work
fun.
for fucking China? Like, I'm sorry, and like, look, I support your right to say that the U.S. government sucks. Go ahead, do say whatever you want. That's fine. You're allowed to say that, and I'm glad that you have opinions. But just also realize that like there was a song. I thought it's a parody, obviously, but there's a song called it's on YouTube. It's called "America Sucks Less." So I would just look that up. And I think that kind of just encompasses everything. That America may do some stuff, but America sucks less than everywhere else.
A good way to put it. So, yeah, that's our interview for today. Thank you, Michael, for coming on, talking to us about your experience in the Air Force and giving us a bunch of knowledge. I'll drop Michael's referral code for the Air Force. So if you sign up, he gets, what is it,
Yeah.
$1,000?
Yeah, that would be cool. I wish. I wish. Actually, don't mention. Don't.
But, anyways, appreciate you coming on and hope you guys have a good night. Thanks. Bye bye.